Now, how do you,
Will you be passing out the poll slides?
all the slides, I don't know if you were here in the beginning, all the slides will be on the website probably by Monday.
Because his matrix was nice.
Beautiful, beautiful.
And they're all on the thumb drive.
Not his.
Not his.
Not
His.
his.
Okay.
Oh, that's
And the
what
ones
Jake
on the
said.
thumb drive, some have been added, so the website will be the best place to get the most updated version. And feel free to use them, use your names on them, do whatever you have to do to get
Personal.
our literacy laws. Yeah, we're fine with that. Repurpose, repurpose, repurpose is what we say. Now, how have we gone about in just a year to get partnerships like AME? We have a business plan. And that is what we're going to ask all of you to do in just a few minutes. And it's just going to be your, could you put for me? It's just going to be your, it's a high level, it's to get you going. Like we said earlier, I love business plans, and I could not do what I do today with 7 different organizations if I didn't have my business plans. You can put on my desktop with me every day. And I do a couple things every day. I think about what are the core values of the organization that I'm flipping my mind to be with at that moment. SERP has different core values than we have at the Business Roundtable, than we have at Literate Nation. But I always ground myself before I get to work so I can clear everything out of my head. What am I doing now? So when you're in your State Department and you're working 7 to 7, that's a long day. Yet you also want to do your volunteer work. So I recommend you ground yourself. Now what we're going to do is we're going to give you, and you can pass out, and you can pass from that. We're going to give you just a cheat sheet. We did it quickly because somehow I didn't get it on this laptop, the one we did back at home. I recommend that when you're thinking, think globally. How do you educate and empower to drive literacy law? Number 1, what kind of groups do you need? Let's just look at an organization. You need expertise in science and research. You need expertise in media and messaging. You need expertise in advocacy and outreach. You're not going to find people that have skill sets in all of those areas. So look for diversity. It's the only way you can create the capacity and the will. Now what we've learned in reading about 50 books lately on capacity and will, and a lot of paperwork, stories. We made the decision about 6 months ago at Literate Nation to tell stories. Our website, this platform that you're all going to use, will open up and people are going to be able to tell their personal stories on the site. That gets people inspired. You need knowledge, you need information, you need outreach with social media strategies, and your campaigns. Quick, please, now, Paul set us up for where we have to go, what impact we're looking for. A, we do need an upturn in the literacy, we know that. What is it going to do? Actually, the states are going to save money when they have a literate population from K to 4, because college remediation, we know from our CB work, goes away. California spends $14 billion a year in college remedial classes. Hello. Just let it sink in for a minute. What could that do to retrain all of our teachers with technology? Surge in graduation rates. When I talked earlier about LA School District having 60% high school dropouts, San Francisco is about 40, I think it's 43% right now. That has to end. What life do those kids have if they can't even get through high school? Growth in jobs, I think Paul covered that. Very excellent. What do jobs do? They allow us to compete globally. We're not doing a very good job with the OECD countries right now. Our economy improves as people contribute. What do we have? Like 46 or 47% of our citizens don't pay federal taxes. Imagine if that was only 20%. Our GDP growth would be huge. And of course, what we're really getting to is we want every child and every citizen to have opportunity. It's the only way we can be happy. Okay, now a business plan. How do you start a business plan that is a strategic plan and will get you to where you need to go? We know our mission. Our mission is to create literacy laws. We have all of the hard work, a lot of the hard work done. The tools you need, whether it's a state leave behind, definitions on seeds, all the research to back up what you're reporting, and an expert to back you up in our office. That's been done. But now you have your own internal challenges within your state. Identify those. Just think about them. And don't give yourself too many challenges. I'd say 1, 2, maximum 3 challenges. And now I want you to think only in quarters, not in 3-year business plans or 5-year business plans. Because in an all-volunteer group, you have to stay very nimble, particularly when you're dealing with your states. Because you never know who's going to change, who's in office, who's out of office, what champion has someone else coming in for lobbying something else, so they decide to kick you to the curb. When you create your goals, know that you might have to ditch them. And that's the secret of a startup. In Silicon Valley, we don't think really more than 3 years out. 3 quarters out in our businesses, because we don't know what we don't know. And you'll never hear these guys saying, let's wait to get it perfect. All we do is we say, let's get it out there and hear what people don't like. And then we'll go back to our engineers and we'll re-engineer, and then we'll stick it out there again and we'll hear the comments. And they get it right with feedback. So don't be afraid if people don't love what you're creating, because you're going to keep building it. It's dynamic. It's organic. And you have to think that way too. And it's hard for a lot of us, particularly when we get into organizations that are the bureaucracies that many of you work in. They're so staid. You can't be. You have to be filled with life. Now, when you create your goals, my recommendation, and my team knows this very well, everyone says, why do we need a business plan? We're a nonprofit. We're all volunteers. No, we need a business plan. I'd say 3 goals. Absolutely 3 goals. If you want to get to 5 and you're very ambitious, go for it. But 3 is a great way to start. And if you only want 1 or 2, that's okay also. Now, I'd like you to think of these goals for Q3 and Q4, not Q2. Why? Because you're going to have to take these goals back and be nimble with your teams. And you're going to fine-tune them. But let's just see how we get through 2013. And then sometime in Q4, I'd like to work with each of you in the beginning of Q4 to see where you are. And then we'll start building a real, more stringent business plan for Q14, or for 2014. Now, why? Why? Because volunteer groups take a while to come together, particularly when you're working on the implementing side. You implementers, you have much more diversity that you have to think about. You have different people from different structures. So just get a couple things done in the next 2 quarters. Now, measurable objectives. If you don't put measurable quarterly objectives next to every task that you have to reach to get to your goal, you're going to fail. Those measurable objectives should be the task that is fully written out. As an example, what do I have to do to meet with 6 legislators and get them to at least nod their head that they'll sign a piece of paper, that they are willing to get $12 million of new funds to retrain all kindergarten teachers, or that they're willing to sign on to universal screening. What do I have to do? And then you list those tasks. And then you say, what quarter will this be in? Is it quarter 3 or is it quarter 4? Now the next thing you get to do is you get to create your metrics. How are you going to measure yourself? Are you going to check up on this every week? You're going to check up on it every month? What timeline are you giving for yourself? When does it need to be accomplished, each of the tasks? You might have 3 or 4 or 5 measurable objectives under each goal. And how are you going to measure them? If you forget measurement, you won't reach them. And then who are the team members that are going to lead that particular task? And if you can't think of someone when you go into the other room, or if you stay in this room, you can't think of someone, just put who is a specialist. I need someone from the State Department of Education that focuses on English language learners, or that focuses on special ed. So just put that person in a bubble, because that'll be one of your objectives, to go find that person that can join your team. And then how many members do they need on a team? I think having 5 per team is beautiful, but you as leaders have to make sure that you're not leading more than 7 teams. And of those 7 teams, having 5 people under them is perfect. If you go out too far and you have 12 or 13, it's a mess. But 5 people, it's really a family. You can sit around the dinner table and you can talk and get things done. So, questions? Because everyone's looking at me like,
So let
"What?"
me try to help add even some other ideas. That's a great, business plan in 5.5 minutes. So just know that. And so I wanted to do 3 things to build on this. The first is to say, what questions do you have about what Cynthia just laid out about any of the 6 elements of what you're about to do? These are just informational questions. None of these are stupid questions. It's important that everybody understand what the task is. Any questions about that?
Is there anyone that can give more examples of, just to get my brain moving?
Yes.
That one example was great. Can you give me more?
In your folder, for everyone to see, you'll see our first quarter objectives at Literate Nation. These are all the things that we achieved. There's 16 of them. They're right in your folder in the first page. All the things that we achieved. And we reported most of them to our boss here and our boss there. A few extras are on here we didn't report because it wasn't part of our work. We built a team workspace, as an example. This was one of our measurable quarterly objectives that was going to help us get to the goal of advocacy. We were creating so many pieces of paper, so many tools and marketing, and we couldn't keep track of them because everybody had them on different laptops. So we decided to do a Google+. We created a team workspace, and everything lives in the team workspace in an area of 3, or actually 4 groups now. Is it science? Does it have to do with advocacy? Does it have to do with media and messaging? Does it have to do with operation? Every one of our team members, 24 hours a day, have complete access to the work.
Which brings up one of the things that I'm thinking about, which is I have come to realize over the past several years that I want to work with people I want to work with. I want to work with people that will get the job done, and I want to work with people that work with me like a team. So one of my priorities in my life is, my number 1 priority is I want to hang up smiling. I don't care about the work. I mean, I'll work all weekend and 7 days a week, but I don't want to work with people that I don't enjoy working with and that I don't feel like I can produce a result with. So for me, one of my priorities is what are my teams like, and how is that dynamic going to move forward our initiatives as quickly as possible? So that's one of my forethoughts. So in building your teams, some people are better at some things and some people are better at the others. The person that we had build that website, that was how her brain worked. And I can tell you, this is not how our brains work. We are not the people to do that. So one of my key things right now is who's the right job person in the right position to move it forward.
And okay, here's another idea, because Diane's still looking. One more sample. Decided to really be a literate nation, we need to have a massive advertising campaign that is very broad. It's in print, it's in television, it's on every social media channel. And we need to brand ourselves. We need to brand ourselves as a unit so we get out of all these other silos. Well, I don't know how to do that. So we went to someone who is in advertising. Thank God she happens to be my daughter. And we said we want to send out an RFI to the top advertising firms in the country. I knew we wouldn't get it this year, but we need a campaign worth about $25 to $35 million. If we're going to really support your efforts, and if in 5 years we all want to say, whew, we're going to the beach. You know, we did it, it's in, now we can turn it over to the next generation of these advocates. That is going to take time, so we had to put together a business plan. We had to have all those measurable objectives. Every week we had to do something different so that RFI was complete. The RFI went out to 5 firms. One firm said, can't do it in 2013. Come back to me in the 4th quarter of this year, and we will put you in the basket because we would love to do a campaign like that. Now imagine if we fall onto a $25 million for free. This is pro bono. We do everything pro bono. Thank you, Louis. By the way, did you know that they're making the movie, I think we forgot to mention it yesterday morning, Embracing Dyslexia, and we did a quid pro quo. They wanted to interview. I said I could help them get the top people to interview. Mary Ann's flying in tonight as an example. Interview some people about dyslexia. And I said, great, I'll get to the people, and will you also come in, please, and film this for us so that we can use snippets going forward to train the masses rather than just the 30 of us in this room. That's how we work. And it's a lovely way because everyone wins. You're so excited because, as you said this morning, you're learning so much. So if you just take a brief look at these, I don't want you to think about it too much. And we're going to spread out, and we're going to be working with your groups to help you with your plan.
I have one more comment, and that's a comment about scale. So I have the gift of getting to work with Cynthia Hahn, who has the ability to get somebody to pay $25 million and put a campaign in place. So I personally have this theory that if she can raise $150 million, I can raise $5 million. That if when her kid was identified with dyslexia, she called the Shayowitzes, I called the person up the street that was the best in my area. So sometimes it's kind of intimidating to think, oh my goodness, but if you look at the scale of your relationships, if you have 5 people in your community, you're connected to 50 people. So I kind of think of it in scale because I don't have the capacity to get a $25 million advertising campaign. But one of my clients does. So I now have an editor. So don't be intimidated, but rather be willing to let people participate that you don't even know yet, that have skills and gifts that you don't have, that can move the goals forward. So I think vision big, and then let people really become part of your process to support you through. Does that bring it to scale a little bit? All right, so what's our next step?
You guys get to choose, because I know we've been doing a lot of one-way feet. Initiating states can either go in the library or stay here. I think we have 7 implementing states, or 6 implementing states. So how about implementing? You guys go in the library, and the rest of us will stay here, and we're going to float between you. And I'm happy to, don't look so, you guys are going to have this down. And then you're going to come back and you're going to present. And then we're going to help you fill in all the empty spaces.
How much time do we have?
You have about an hour, you have to about 11:30, 11.